7. Nicole. Last week, I wrote a short story. It started out strong, lost its way in the middle, and never got back on track. The ending fell flat. The potential from the strong beginning faded, and it seemed unsalvageable. I rearranged words, deleted, added, but no matter what, it just wasn't what I intended it to be. I wanted more for it, but some things just can't be polished, so I threw it away. Mom, is that how you felt about me? Nicole. I tried to sleep, but it's hard to turn my thoughts off. Writing helps, gives me a place to put them, but I think I just have too many tonight. A soft knock on my childhood bedroom door startles me. I quickly close my notebook and sit up a little taller in bed, rearranging the comforter that's draped over my legs. "Come in," I say. It's Michael. He's changed into a t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants. There's no name brand on either, but I can tell they're expensive. His hair sticks out in all directions, like he fell asleep for a short time and woke again. Perhaps, like me, he has a hard time turning off his thoughts. "What's up?" I ask, because I don't know what else to say to him. My tone is flippant, and I think it's because I resent him. For leaving, for having a better life, for not being an addict like me, for having money, and for not being there when I needed him. I glance at the old worn carpet, and a memory comes plowing to the front of my mind. When I was a kid, I was terrified of everything, so scared I couldn't sleep at night. My eyes would close and I'd see monsters crawling out from beneath my bed, clawing at the sheets, trying to grab me and take me with them. My parents said I was cursed with an active imagination because I could close my eyes and imagine the worst possible thing happening. Maybe my mind wasn't overly active. Maybe it was preparing me for the broken life I'd live. I remember telling Michael I was too scared to sleep. I was 12 and he was 10. He dragged a comforter and pillows into my room, made himself a bed on my floor, and said he'd protect me. We talked until I dozed off. I had finally slept through the whole night. I felt safe, knowing he was there. But now I don't know how I feel, because I'm not that scared little girl anymore, and he's not the brother he used to be. Michael takes a couple of steps into my room, stopping in the center. A Walmart shopping bag hangs from his hand, his fingers looped through the plastic handles. He glances around my old bedroom. No one lives here anymore, but it holds the memory of the girl who called it home. That girl no longer exists. As we age, we shed layers of ourselves, disintegrating like any other organic material. But some of us just break down faster than others. The walls of the room are painted a light purple, but they're bare now. Nail holes that were never patched hint at what the space used to look like. My bedroom furniture still fills the room. A bed, a desk, and a dresser. But all my belongings are gone. I lost them or sold them somewhere between 18 and now. The ceiling is still covered in plastic glow-in-the-dark stars. I spent nearly a week sticking them up there when I was a teenager. But like me, they've lost their glow. "Here, I got you something," Michael says, extending the bag. It swings mildly in the air. I hesitate, not reaching out for it, because I don't want anything from him. He gives me a sympathetic look, also something I don't want from him. He inches closer to me, insisting that I take it. I finally do. Beggars can't be choosers, as they say. Inside the bag, I find an iPhone and a purple case for it. Purple has always been my favorite color. "What's this?" I ask. "Yours was stolen, so I figured you needed a new one." I groan. "I had a flip phone, Michael. One of those pay-as-you-go. I can't afford this." He slides his hands into his pockets and takes a step back. I put you on my plan. It's covered, so you don't have to worry about it. I don't need your pity. Good, because you don't have it, he says matter-of-factly. And I think I believe him. He turns and heads for the door. Thanks, I mutter. Michael pauses, looking over his shoulder. His eyes try to meet mine, but they don't, because I'm looking right through him. It's hard to see someone when the memory of them is stronger than the person standing directly in front of you. You're welcome, Nicole. He closes the door behind him, leaving me to fend off the monsters on my own. But they're not under the bed anymore. They're in me.
8. Beth. The floor creaks beneath my feet like the house is waking up with me. Michael's bedroom door is open, and his bed is made. Nicole's door is closed, so I know she's still asleep. She's always been the last to bed and the last to rise. There's a pot of freshly brewed coffee in the kitchen. Counters are wiped down, and everything is put away and tidy. Not how I left it last night. I peek out the window above the sink. Michael's car is gone, and I wonder, gone for good? Just like Dad? I pour a cup of coffee and inhale the nutty smell before taking it out to the back deck to enjoy. The sky is a muted gray, dimly lit by the climbing sun. Birds chirp and peep a dawn chorus, while squirrels frolic in the bird feeders hung from old box elder and maple trees. The property dips into a hillside covered in trees. A valley carved through it sits off to the right, leading down to a small cabin and fire pit. Beyond that, a grassy plain, more trees, a hidden cemetery for the pets we've loved, and the twisting, bubbling creek. There's a pasture to the left, covered in dandelions that look like little yellow explosions. The landscape is green and vibrant, but soon the colors will change, and the leaves will fall, and those chirping birds will fly south. That's life. It's a cycle. Until it's not anymore. I shoot a text to Michael, asking him if he's on a flight home. He responds right away. I went into town. Be back soon. I'm not sure if I'm relieved or not to hear that he's coming back, but I suppose it's nice to have another person here to help clean up the mess and keep an eye on Nicole. It's just after 8 in the morning, and for the first time in a long time, I don't know what to do with myself. If Mom were alive, I'd be making peanut butter toast and sitting down to watch The Price is Right with her. But she's not. How do the living just keep living? I sip the hot coffee and clear my throat. It's much stronger than how I make it, almost like a thick, bitter oil. The roar of an engine pulls me from my thoughts. I make my way around the back of the house. As I turn a corner, I stumble into a tipped-over garbage can. Damn raccoons. I push the spilled contents back into the receptacle with my foot and stand it upright. A car nicer than mine, but not as nice as Michael's rental, is parked in front of the garage. The windows are darkly tinted, so I can't see who's in it. A man dressed in a gray suit steps out, lifts his chin, and waves. Can I help you? I ask. Are you Elizabeth Thomas? Yeah? I'm Craig Davidson, your mother's attorney, he says, walking around the front of his vehicle. His introduction puzzles me. Mom had a lawyer. I had no idea. She never mentioned it, and I didn't think she had the money for one, especially since I was covering whatever bills she couldn't. He extends a hand. I'm very sorry for your loss. The sympathy seems robotic. Overusing words or phrases dulls their significance, and it's clear from how he speaks that he's said those words 1,000 times. Thanks, I say, shaking his hand weakly. Craig clears his throat. I'm here to go over her will. I'm even more puzzled by the mention of a will. She never brought it up, never talked about anything that would happen after she passed. So I assumed she didn't have one. But I'm also a little relieved because now I'll know exactly what she wanted. Nicole sits at the end of the table, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, legs folded like a pretzel. Her hair is disheveled, and she switches between drinking water and coffee. I'm sure she's nursing a hangover because, according to a Google search, she's not supposed to be consuming alcohol while on methadone treatments. And I'm sure she knows that too. But that's Nicole. She does what she wants when she wants. The lawyer, seated across from Michael and me, pulls a stack of folders from his briefcase. On top is a sealed manila envelope with the words Thomas Children written in black Sharpie. Michael taps his fingers against the table. His jaw is clenched, and his eyes wander. He looks uncomfortable. But I'm sure we all do. There's nothing comforting about death. Craig straightens out the papers. "Elizabeth, your mother has left most everything to you," he says, matter-of-factly. My eyes flick to Nicole and then to Michael. His face is as tight as a drum. Hers is lax, a mix of disappointment and sadness, maybe something else. I readjust myself in my seat. My fingers make their way to my teeth. I bite one nail before realizing that I'm biting it and quickly pull it away, folding my hands in my lap.
"What do you mean by most everything?"
Nicole asks. Craig scans the paper laid out in front of him. "The house and furniture go to Elizabeth, and so does this." He retrieves a small silver key and a post-it note. "The information for the lockbox is written down on the paper." "What's in the box?" Michael asks. His eyes follow the key as it slides across the table toward me. "Laura didn't say, so your guess is as good as mine," Craig explains. I flip the key over and over in my hand. It's shiny and appears brand new. Is the lockbox also new? And what did Mom stow away? She's never had much, so I assume it contains little mementos that have no financial value but were treasures to her. Craig drags his finger down the piece of paper. "Her car and journals go to Nicole," he says, flipping another page before continuing. "Your mother also kept most of your father's belongings. In here, she stipulates that Nicole and Elizabeth will have their choice of 2 of his items, and the rest will go to Michael."
"Only 2 things?"
Nicole groans.
"You can have whatever you want,"
Michael says with a shrug. I assume his generosity is because he has far more in life than me and Nicole will ever have.
"As far as your mother's personal belongings, they are to be divided between the 3 of you. Any questions?"
"How did you know my mother passed?" I ask. Craig clears his throat.
"I was alerted by her hospice nurse."
He rotates the paper toward us, clicks a pen, and places it on the table.
"I'll need each of you to sign at the bottom. This just states that I went over everything."
Michael flicks his signature across it and slides it to me. I hesitate, the tip of the pen hovering an inch above the paper. It feels so uneventful. "Your mom's dead. Divide up all of her possessions. Sign here. Now go about your own life." I force the pen to touch the paper and skid across it, leaving behind a blotchy signature that barely looks like mine. I pass it to Nicole, and she signs it without a thought. The lawyer collects the paper, closes the folder, and opens another.
"Your mother requests to be cremated, and she would like her ashes spread around the property."
Craig looks to each of us to confirm our mom's wish will be honored. Michael leans forward, tightening his eyes.
"Seems a little disrespectful. This used to be farmland."
"It's not disrespectful. She wants to stay in the place she loved most,"
Nicole says. The lawyer's gaze darts to me.
"Is this going to be a problem?"
"No, that's what Mom wanted, so we'll carry out her wishes," I say with a nod. I'm relieved to know we're doing exactly what she asked for. Mom didn't get what she wanted in life, so the least I can do is give her what she wanted in death.
"Funerals aren't for the dead, they're for the living," Michael says. "Mom should be buried in a cemetery so there's a place we can visit her."
"You didn't visit her when she was alive," I scoff.
"Beth!"
Nicole scolds.
"What? I could say the same for you."
I narrow my eyes at her.
"Just because you were here doesn't mean we didn't lose her too,"
Nicole argues.
"She was just as much our mom as she was yours."
"Yeah, sure." I cock my head. but I was the one that took care of her up until the moment she died. Where were you two? Michael shifts toward me.
Get off your high horse, Beth. You may have been here, but I was the one footing the bill for everything.
The lawyer quietly organizes his papers, trying to ignore the fight that's unfolding, but it's clear he's uncomfortable from the way his shoulders are pinned to his ears. No, you weren't! I practically yell. The rise in my own voice startles me.
Oh, great, so we have Mr. Moneybags and Ms. I'm a better daughter because I watched Mom die,
Nicole says, rolling her eyes. I almost add, and Little Miss Drug Addict, but I stop myself.
I put $2,000 in her account every month.
Michael's voice is calm, making me, in contrast, look unhinged. That's a lie! I'm nearly standing because I'm so mad. I went through her finances. I was paying for anything Social Security didn't cover, which was practically everything. I was barely scraping by.
You're both technically correct,
Craig says quietly. The whites of his eyes show, like he's anticipating one of us jumping down his throat. What? I furrow my brow, slowly retaking my seat. The lawyer flips through several pages.
Your mother had 2 checking accounts. One of them is what you're familiar with, Elizabeth. That's what she used to pay all of her bills, or some of them. The other was never touched. It has a balance of $132,000.
My eyes go wide, nearly splitting at the corners. Or at least that's how it feels. I can't believe it. I was struggling to cover my own bills and some of Mom's, and she was sitting on all that cash. Why would she do that to me?
So where's that money now?
Nicole asks.
Your mother's wish was to donate that money to the Missing Persons Foundation,
Craig says, glancing down at the will. Michael balls up his fists and then stretches out his hands. His knuckles crack, and he groans.
I sent Mom that money to help her.
You know Mom didn't take handouts, Michael, Nicole says. But maybe since Mom, donated so much, they'll finally help us find Dad.
She leans forward in her chair. Nicole and I tried getting MPF to take Dad's case a few months after he disappeared. They told us his case didn't fit their criteria, and I think it was because they didn't believe he was missing. They thought he left on his own accord. Yeah, maybe, I say. My mother's final words echo in my head. Your father, he didn't disappear. She wants us to find him. I'm sure of it. But why didn't she donate that money before she passed, or at least told me sooner? The rest of her words slither into my brain. Don't trust. Perhaps that's why. She was scared. But of what?
Anything else?
Michael asks. He's agitated, and I guess I would be too if I were him. But when you give someone a gift, it's their choice as to what they do with it.
There's one more thing,
Craig says. He opens the manila envelope and removes 3 white letter-sized envelopes. They're sealed. He slides one to each of us. Written on the front are our names. The letters are smooth and round, each flowing seamlessly into the next. My mom always prided herself in her handwriting, and I wouldn't have been surprised if she'd practiced calligraphy at some point in her life.
Your mother wrote each of you a letter, but she asked that you not open them until after her funeral.
Nicole holds her envelope up to the light, trying to see what's inside.
Why can't we open them now?
She sets it down in front of her and folds her non-casted arm in front of her chest. Her eyes dart between the lawyer and the envelope, and I can tell she's trying to resist the urge to rip it open.
It's what she wanted,
Craig says, gathering his papers and sliding them back into his briefcase. I glance at the envelope on the table in front of me and trace my name with my finger. What did she want to say that she couldn't when she was alive? I flip it over. My skin tingles as I stare at the sealed flap.
Any further questions?
The lawyer asks. None of us say anything. He takes the silence as an answer and nods. Before closing his briefcase, he slides a business card to me.
Feel free to call with any questions. Otherwise, all remaining paperwork will be sent here within the next 10 business days.
Craig starts toward the door, making for a quick exit. Of course. Mom has already paid him, and there's no money left for him to make here. He's like a leech in salt.
What happens if we open our envelopes before her funeral?
Nicole asks. The lawyer pauses his quick exit, turns back, and lets out a sigh.
Probably nothing. But you should always respect the wishes of the dead.
His words send a chill down my spine, and I can't pinpoint why they have that effect. The screen door slaps against the frame, punctuating his departure. My eyes flick to each of our envelopes, wondering what they contain. Michael hasn't even touched his. Maybe he knows what it says. Nicole looks at hers like it's her next fix, something she craves, but will leave her damaged in the end. I can't imagine Mom had very nice parting words for her, given the hell she's put us through over the years. Regardless, I don't think her envelope will stay sealed for very long. But mine, I'm not sure I'll ever open it. I'm not even sure if I want to know what's inside. Final words make things final.
Now what?
Nicole asks, never taking her eyes off her envelope. She presses the tips of her fingers together, some pressure to satisfy the urge to tamper with it. I stand, sliding the key and post-it note into the front pocket of my jeans. I fold the envelope and slip it into my back pocket. We do what Mom wanted.
9. Nicole. Beth places a cardboard box labeled Memories on the living room floor beside me. I'm surrounded by my parents' belongings. Boxes and totes strewn around, stacked 3 or 4 high. Mom kept them all these years, so they must have meant something. The ceiling creaks. Michael's up in the attic, carrying everything to the pull-down ladder that feeds into the hallway. He hands them to Beth, and she brings them to the living room. It's an assembly line of sorts. Beth's idea, thanks to working in a factory her entire adulthood. If I had 2 working arms, I'd be of more use. But instead, I've been tasked with sorting everything into piles. Garbage, donate, sell, and keep. I'm pretty sure my cast is more of a nuisance than it is helpful, as I don't feel any pain in my arm. It's just my ribs and face that throb. But that wouldn't stop me from carrying boxes if I could. I'm used to feeling uncomfortable, so it doesn't faze me. I open the memories box and cough on a cloud of dust that swirls in the air. That's how memories are. Dormant dust, waiting to be stirred up. Inside are dozens of VHS tapes neatly stacked on their ends, each one labeled with dates and short descriptions, like Michael's 16th birthday, Christmas 1999, and kids playing outside, summer of 1990. The handwriting is neat and precise, just the way it is on our envelopes. My mother clearly cherished the memories on these tapes. I flip one over in my hand, running my fingers along the hard plastic edge. These little black rectangles hold worlds I once lived in. I so badly wish I could jump inside one of them and take up residence, return to a time when I was whole. I read through the labels, trying to conjure the memories on my own. Some are long gone. Some are crystal clear. But most are fuzzy, like when you wake up from a dream and can remember only fragments of it. I want to remember more. My eyes flick to the television in the corner of the room, where a dual VHS DVD player sits on the shelf beneath it. A tingle runs through my hands, spreading to the tips of my fingers. "Hurry up, Michael," Beth yells from the hallway. "You're taking forever." "You're not the one up in this nasty attic, Beth. There's barely a floor up here, mostly ceiling beams to navigate." His voice carries through the house. "How many more boxes?" she calls out. Michael doesn't respond right away, but I hear his footsteps shuffle along the ceiling. "How many?" Beth asks again. The ladder creaks, and I know she's scrambling up to see for herself. She's always been impatient. "Here," he roars. "There's one more tote and a Christmas tree with outdoor decorations. The ladder creaks again, and a moment later Beth plops a box labeled Dad on the floor. She lets out a huff while her eyes scan over the living room. It's an overwhelming sight, to say the least. "What's all that?" Beth asks, gesturing to the tapes. Right now she looks so much like Mom. I'm taken back to when I was young, peering up at our mother, thinking she had the answers to all the questions in the world. We all look at our parents that way, until we don't. My dad could do no wrong. And then he ran out on us. I never thought he'd be the type to do that. I avert my eyes, staring back at the boxes in front of me before any tears escape. "Home videotapes," I say. Beth kneels and flips through a few, sliding them in and out of their flimsy cardboard sleeves. The inner reels rattle within the cassettes. She runs a finger along a tape labeled Summer '99. Beth would have been 16, I 15, and Michael 13. I don't remember much about that summer, but I do know that everything changed after it. Only, I don't know why. "Seems so long ago," Beth says, staring at the tape. "Yeah, a lifetime." Heavy boots clomp down the hallway, and Michael emerges, carrying a tote. The old pair of Red Wing lace-up work boots he's wearing belong to Dad. I haven't seen them in years. They immediately conjure up a memory from my childhood. Dad coming home from work after a long day at the factory, plopping down in his recliner, feet kicked up. Beth and I would race to unlace his boots and remove them. Whoever was the fastest was declared the winner. She won most of the time. Dad always made chores and small tasks into games. I think he was trying to teach us that no matter how bad life was, it could still be fun. Maybe that was why he left us. He couldn't find the fun anymore. "Was that fast enough for you, Queen Beth?" Michael asks in a teasing voice as he walks into the room. He sets a bin labeled Journals on the floor and dusts off his hands. Beth repeats his taunt right back to him in a mocking voice. Michael cracks a smile and takes a few steps toward us. "What you got there?" She holds up the 3 tapes she plucked from the box. "Our home VHS tapes. Let's watch one. You pick, Michael. Summer '99, Nicole's birth, or Easter '96? "I'm vetoing my birth. I don't feel like watching the biggest regret of my life," I say with a laugh. Beth chuckles and places that tape back in the box. "Okay, Michael. Summer '99 or Easter '96? He rubs his brow and bends over, opening up another box. "Let's just keep working." "Oh, come on." I throw my non-broken arm up in the air. "Just one tape." Michael pulls children's clothes from a box and tosses them into a black garbage bag. "I really don't want to," he says. "Why?" I ask. He lets out a huff, directing his attention to me. "Digging up the past is depressing." "We're not digging it up. We're revisiting it." I jump to my feet and swipe the Summer '99 tape from Beth. "Fine. Just one. We've got a lot more work to do," Michael says, picking up the TV remote. I smile at him and carefully slide the tape from the box. My hand shakes, the tape hovering right in front of the VCR. Maybe Michael's right. It's depressing to revisit the past, and won't do any of us any good. It can't change anything. Or maybe it's just what we need. A new perspective. Closure, as they say, to a life we'll never live again. I push the tape into the VCR. It clicks, disappears inside, and then makes a humming sound while it settles into place. The TV screen flicks from black to static. And then it's 1999, and 15-year-old me is on screen.
10. Laura. 1999. The camcorder sits heavily on my shoulder. It weighs nearly 20 pounds, but the burden is worth it, because I want to capture everything I can. After losing my sister and my father before the age of 15, I know that no matter how powerful the brain is, it still forgets things. My kids hate it, always groaning at me to put away the camcorder, to stop taking photos. But one day, they'll appreciate the time and effort I put into preserving our family memories. Whatever I don't capture through video and photos, I write about in journals, key points of each day that I cherish, and even those I don't. It's important to remember both the good and the bad, because together they keep us grateful and grounded. I readjust the camcorder and flick my long hair over my shoulder to stop it from being pulled. You'd think they could make these things smaller. Maybe one day they'll be as small as my hand. I press record and walk slowly into the living room, panning from wall to wall so I can remember what it looks like. The white walls are adorned with family photos, and the hanging shelves are filled with knickknacks I've picked up at resale shops and rummage sales. A tube television sits on a stand in the corner, playing a rerun of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The drapes, couch, and chair are floral printed. I've always loved flowers. There's something special about their existence. They're how we greet the ones we love and say goodbye to the ones we've lost. Nicole is seated on the couch, dressed in wide-leg black jeans and a dragon graphic tee. She's listening to music on her Sony Discman with a pair of over-the-ear headphones. She saved up her allowance for months to buy that portable music machine. Her shoulder-length hair is crimped, her lids are covered in a heavy blue eyeshadow, and her brows are overplucked. She's told me many times that it's style, and I can't really argue with her. I was born in the bra-burning decade, then sported bell-bottoms, crochet tops, and peasant blouses during my teen years. "Nicole," I say. She doesn't respond because she's absorbed in her notebook, writing down poems and thoughts. She got that from me. There are some things we can't say out loud, and it's just easier to write them down. I call her name again, but her music is far too noisy. I've told her 100 times she's going to blow her eardrums out, but it falls on deaf ears. Perhaps my warning is already too late. Her head snaps up when she spots me in her peripheral view, turning off the television she's not watching anyway. I'm constantly having to remind my kids that money doesn't grow on trees. She rolls her eyes so much I think they might pop out of her head. "Mom, I was watching that," Nicole groans. Higher by Creed blares from her headphones as she slips them off and clicks pause on her Discman. I know the song by heart at this point because she's listened to it so often. Her personality has always been all or nothing, which worries me sometimes. 0 or 100 makes the middle, where everyday life exists, feel like a slump. "Didn't look like it," I say, steadying the camcorder and keeping her in frame. "Now, how was your last day of freshman year?" "Great," she says in a monotone voice. I tightly smile. "Because it's over," she adds with a smirk. I pull my eye from the viewfinder and give her a disapproving look. "One day, you're gonna regret wishing your life away." She leans back onto the cushion, placing the palms of her hands on the back of her head, elbows propped up. "As if, when I'm a famous writer living in New York City, I'll be glad I wished high school away." I want to tell her to have a backup plan, to be more realistic. But I know there's a fine line between keeping your children grounded and killing their dreams, so I smile a little wider instead. My own mother encouraged practicality to a fault. Get a job, get married, have kids. There was no room left in her plan for flights of fancy. I don't regret my decisions or the life I've made, though if I could go back, I'd dream a little more. But I still would like Nicole to understand how fast life passes, even if you're not wishing it away. That realization only sets in later in life, or in some cases when it's cut short, when the seemingly impossible becomes the possible. It came early for me, 12 to be exact, when my sister and my father were ripped from this earth, killed by a drunk driver. My life was never the same after that. I was never the same after that. Placing my eye back in the viewfinder, I center it on her. "Read me something you wrote today, Nicole." Her cheeks flush. "Mom, no," she says. "How are you going to be a writer if you don't want anyone to hear your words?" She sighs, rolls her eyes again, and flips through a couple pages in her notebook. "Fine, just a small part," she says, looking up at me. She doesn't smile, but her eyes do, and I'll take that. She buries her nose back in her journal and clears her throat. "If you're afraid of falling, you'll never fly. If you're afraid of failing, you'll never try. If you're afraid of dying, you'll never truly be alive." Closing up her journal, she shrugs. "It's rough. Not really that good." "You don't need to be first, honey," I say, staring directly at her. I want my daughter to really hear me, to remember these words one day when she's stopped believing in herself. That day will come. It comes for all of us. And I want her to have the tools to get past that day and any other day like it. Her brow furrows. First? The first to stand in your way. Other people are going to tell you no. They're going to tell you that you can't do something, you're not good enough, you're not worthy. You don't need to do that. Don't add to the noise, because that's all it is, noise. You be a voice for yourself. "Have you been reading those Chicken Soup for the Soul books, Mom?" Nicole teases. She laughs, but I see the seriousness in her eyes, so I hope my words stay with her. I'm not sure they will, though. At 15, she sees me mostly as a buzzkill. I'm her drill instructor, her boss, an impediment to freedom, and a barrier to the life she wants to live. Everything cool, I am the opposite. This dynamic is a rite of passage for parents of teenagers. One day she'll grow out of it. When that day comes, I might even miss her sass. The sound of a door closing grabs my attention, and I aim the camcorder toward the kitchen. My oldest, Beth, rounds the corner. She stops and picks up 2 Blockbuster VHS rentals from the kitchen table and eyes them. Her hair is pulled back in a high ponytail, and she's dressed in a pair of Sophie shorts and an oversized Backstreet Boys t-shirt. Her cheeks are flushed, and she's gasping, still catching her breath. "What'd you rent?" she asks, holding them up. "Saving Private Ryan and A Night at the Roxbury. Your dad's been wanting to see that first one, and I figured you kids would like that Roxbury one. It's a comedy," I say. She nods and places them back on the table, and then fills a cup with water at the sink. "I wish you would have rented Psycho," Nicole groans. I pan the camcorder back to her. "They didn't have any more VHS rentals, only DVDs. Why don't we just get a DVD player then?" "Because they're hundreds of dollars, and your father's convinced they're just a fad," I say. "Yeah, but he also thought CDs were a fad, and he was wrong about that." Nicole gestures to her Sony Discman. "Regardless, we can't afford it." Beth carries in a half-full glass of water and plops down in the floral-patterned chair across from the couch, swinging her legs over the arm. "Where have you been?" Nicole squints at her sister. "On a run with Lucas." "Why does Beth get to have a boyfriend and I don't?" Nicole asks. Before I can answer, Beth quips, "Because you can't get one, loser." She laughs and gulps her water. "How rude." Nicole shoots a glare at her sister. I take a couple of steps back so I can fit them both in the frame. "Beth, be nice. Nicole, you know the rules. No dating until you're 16. Nicole crosses her arms in front of her chest. "Seems pretty arbitrary to me." I've had this same conversation with her a dozen times. but she's too keen on growing up. I wish she'd learned to slow down, because one day she'll be my age, wishing for it back. You have your whole life to date, Nicole. Don't rush growing up because you can't go backward, only forward, I say. Yeah, and it's not like anyone is even interested in you, Beth teases. I said, be nice, I warn, pursing my lips together. We can't be both nice and honest, Mom. My oldest rolls her eyes. Would you rather me lie to her? I give Beth a stern look, and she straightens up in her seat. Nicole sticks her tongue out and immediately retracts it into her mouth when my eyes land on her. She acts nonchalant by fiddling with the black rubber band bracelets on her wrist. There's a knock at the front door, interrupting their spat. Neither of my girls jump up to answer it, so I round the corner from the living room into the kitchen. Christy Roberts stands on the porch, hands cupped around her big brown eyes, peering in through the screen. She's around Beth's age and lives a couple streets over. Hey, Christy, I say, pushing open the door. Smile for the camera. She takes several steps back, delivers a crooked smile, and waves at the camcorder. Hi, Mrs. Thomas. Her dark hair is greasy and uncombed, stopping right at her chin. I return her smile and ask, What you up to? Christy rocks back on her heels, and I notice she's not wearing any shoes. She never does in the spring or summer. I just wanted to see if Beth could come out and play. Her smile doesn't falter. A camera hangs from a strap around her neck, and a book bag is slung over her shoulders. Let me see what she's up to. I'll be right back. She nods. The screen door closes behind me as I re-enter the house, walking back into the living room. Christy's here, I say. Beth shakes her head and whispers, No, tell her I'm not here. Be nice, I whisper back. Why don't you go hang out with her for a little bit? No way. She followed me on my run, Mom. She just wants a friend. I keep my voice low. Beth is adamant, shaking her head back and forth. No, then you go be her friend, she says, slumping in her chair. I look over at Nicole, hoping she'll offer to hang out with Christy or encourage her sister to, but her headphones are back over her ears and she's writing in her notebook. I sigh, accepting Beth's decision and feeling bad for Christy. I make my way back to the kitchen and push open the screen door again to find her waiting, still smiling. Sorry, Christy. Beth just got back from a run, so she's going to shower, and we have plans as a family after that. But maybe tomorrow? I say. She nods. Yeah, sure. I'll come back tomorrow. Her smile remains, but it's strained now. Okay, have a good night, Christy. You too, Mrs. Thomas, she says, turning on her foot. Her shoulders slump, and her head hangs forward as she walks up the driveway. When I re-enter the living room, Beth sits up straight in her chair. Is she gone? I nod. Yeah, but she'll be back tomorrow. You should be nice to Christy. It costs nothing to be kind. Beth groans and flicks her head back dramatically. Just my reputation. Nicole notices her sister's displeasure and pulls her headphones off. What's your problem? Mom's forcing me to do things I don't want to do, Beth chides. What else is new? Nicole rolls her eyes, teasing me. The screen door slaps against the frame, interrupting the conversation. Shoes hit the wall with a thud as each one is kicked off. All of a sudden, my youngest child's arms are wrapped around my waist. I lean down, breathing him in. It's these moments I'll cherish forever. Mikey, how was school? I ask. He pulls away and takes a couple of steps back, so I can get him in frame. He's tall for his age and lanky, sporting a bowl haircut his father gave him. I remind myself to take him to a salon next time. "The bomb! We had an ice cream party and our class played dodgeball against the 8th graders. Totally beat them, too. Bunch of weaklings." He smiles wide. "Hey now, no need to be a sore winner," I say. "It's better than being a loser," Nicole chimes in. I give her a disapproving look. "You'd know because you are one," Beth says to Nicole. "Mom," Nicole whines. I tell them to be nice to one another. Michael plops down next to Nicole on the couch. She ruffles his hair, and he pushes her playfully. "Since it's the last day of school, your father and I are going to order in pizza tonight to celebrate." I smile. Michael cheers, declaring he wants pepperoni. "I don't eat meat," Nicole says. "Since when?" Beth asks. I have the same question because she ate the beef goulash I made yesterday, and she brought a ham and cheese sandwich to school today. "It's a recent decision," Nicole says. "Another phase for my all-or-nothing girl." "I'll order a cheese pizza, too," I say to appease her. "I want sausage," Beth says. "All right, 1 cheese, 1 sausage, 1 pepperoni, and 1 supreme for your dad." I smile while mulling over the numbers in my head. I already know it's more than I budgeted for, but figure I can lighten up groceries for the next 2 weeks to cover it. With Beth being a junior, there's only one more last day of school with all 3 of them together, and eventually there won't be any more last school days. I know my children's futures are bright, but I want to live in the now, even if it is dimly lit and we're barely scraping by. Because I know now is guaranteed, but tomorrow may never come.
11. Nicole. The television screen becomes white static, and the younger versions of me, Beth and Michael, disappear. Mom's voice is back where it belongs. In the past. I glance over at Beth. Fat tears escape the corners of her eyes. She swipes them away with the back of her hand, but I've already seen them. The color in Michael's face has drained like he's seen a ghost. I guess we all have. Ghosts of the people we once were. He was right, this is depressing. Hearing Mom's voice again when she's no longer here feels wrong. Glimpsing at the past feels unnatural, as though we're not supposed to be able to. It's like looking in a mirror, but I'm not the other person staring back. That version of myself no longer exists. I swallow hard, forcing the lump of grief in my throat back down where it belongs. No one says anything. The only sound comes from the hum of the VCR as the tape continues. I get up and walk toward the television to eject it. Suddenly, the screen is black, and the date in the bottom corner reads, June 15th, 1999. It feels significant, but I can't remember why it might be. I scoot away from the television, keeping my eyes glued to it. There's an outline of trees and a full moon illuminating the sky. An owl hoots from somewhere in the branches. The camcorder is unsteady as it scans the tree line. "Where are you, little owl?" Mom says off-screen. I grab the remote and crank up the volume. The speaker on the TV emits the sound of buzzing cicadas and squeaking bats. The camcorder zooms in slowly and scans the tree line again. Dark, thick branches reach in all directions like outstretched hands. Footsteps pound in the distance, growing louder. The camcorder swivels quickly to the right, going in and out of focus. All of a sudden, Dad's face fills the screen. He's panicked and gasping for air. "Jesus, Brian, you scared the hell out of me," Mom huffs. The lens zooms out again, so Dad is in the frame from his waist up. His hand grips a flashlight, and like the video camera, it's also shaky. He's large and burly with a full beard. Red is smeared across his white t-shirt, right around his barrel-sized chest. His eyes are wide, and the whites of them glow in the moonlight. I've never seen him look so scared before.
"Laura, I need your help now,"
he says out of breath.
"What? What is it?"
Mom's voice matches his panic.
"Shut that off!"
he yells, as he turns and heads in the direction he just came from. Several buttons click as Mom removes the camcorder from her shoulder. It's still recording, though. The picture on screen is a shaky blur of trees, grass, and shadows. The camera is pointed at Mom's white sneakers as they travel down the concrete steps that cut through the valley. They pass the cabin and the fire pit, through the green pasture, and the wooded area at the bottom of the property. She follows Dad along the bank of the creek. There's a splash, and Mom stops abruptly. The camcorder swivels toward the direction of the sound. A fish leaps in the air from the creek and splashes back into the water. She lets out a sigh.
"Laura, this way,"
Dad says. He's in frame again, 10 yards ahead. Mom follows the path of the creek and stops a few feet behind Dad under the bridge of Highway X. He scans his flashlight along the ground. The camcorder's focus goes in and out as it tries to pick up on something. Then, all of a sudden, the picture becomes clear. A body. Head cocked to the right. Lips blue and bloated. Skin pale as freshly fallen snow. Damp blonde hair streaked with mud and blood. Wet clothes, a pair of blue jean shorts and a Britney Spears t-shirt hug her small body. Mom screams. The light disappears. The screen is black again, like a nightmare you can't wake yourself up from, and all you can see is the back of your eyelids. Dad shushes her, telling her to stay calm, but even he isn't calm.
"Oh my God!"
Mom cries out. The camcorder hits the ground. The image of the young girl is sideways, taking her in from a new angle. Her blue eyes are clouded like they've been submerged in milk. 2 hope diamonds fluttering to the bottom of the sea, lost forever. They stare into the lens of the camera, and it's as though she's looking directly at me, calling out for help. 23 years too late. Like the light of a star that's already exploded, finally reaching our eyes.
"What happened?"
Mom's voice is a mix of fear, anger, and sadness.
"It was an accident,"
Dad explains, but he doesn't sound convinced.
"We need to call the police,"
she cries. Every muscle in my body is taut, tightened as much as the membrane pulled over a drum. My breaths are shallow, almost non-existent. I'm sure they're barely registering with my lungs.
"No, we can't,"
Dad says firmly.
"What? Why? You said it was an accident, Brian."
"They won't see it that way."
There's a long pause between the two of them, and the only sound is the buzzing cicadas, the squeaking bats, and water moving through the twisted creek.
"Tell me what happened,"
Mom says. Although she's normally calm, the way her tone rises and falls tells a different story.
"The less you know, the better."
They're shuffling off screen, shoes trudging through mud. The camcorder is suspended, aimed up at the night sky. The little dead girl disappears, and a moment later Dad is on screen. It's a close-up of him, as he's holding the video camera.
"Jesus, Laura! This thing is still on! How do you erase it?"
"Hit the rewind button. I'll have to record over it,"
Mom says in a panic. Tears cling to his eyes, but they don't escape. There's a look of confusion on his face as he fiddles with the device, and then the screen goes black. June 15th, 1999 is in the past again. But I know it won't stay there.
12. Beth. A burst of air escapes my mouth as I try to catch my breath, reeling from what I just witnessed. I don't think I breathed at all while the tape played. It's real, I keep telling myself, although my mind is rejecting that notion, instead registering the video as fiction, as though I'd just watched a movie. But I know it's real, because I know the girl in the video. The little dead girl. The one that's been missing for more than half of my life. Her name is Emma Harper. Well, I guess it was Emma Harper. She was 12 when she disappeared. She was our next-door neighbor, the younger sister of my high school sweetheart, Lucas. Everyone looked for her when she went missing the summer of 1999. We searched high and low for days, weeks, months. Even then, her family didn't give up. In those early days when she'd first gone, we combed the local nature trail, an abandoned railroad track without the tracks that runs 6 miles between the Grove and Clinton. We searched nearby towns, Darien, Delavan, Sharon, Elkhorn, all of them. Flyers with her 6th grade class picture were plastered on trees, telephone poles, and front windows of local businesses. But Emma was never found. And no one knew what happened to her. I can barely finish the thought. No one knew what happened to Emma Harper, except my parents. On the day she went missing, there was a carnival at the park in the center of town. They called it Groovin' in the Grove. My mom was the event's lead organizer. She wanted Allen's Grove to shine because that was how she saw our town, like coal before it's compressed and heated enough to form a diamond. There were games, vendors, food, fried and double fried, farm animals, even a few janky carnival rides. The Dukes of Hazzard-themed bar called Boar's Nest that sits kitty-corner to the park across Highway X had live local bands and drinks flowing all day for the adults. It was the biggest event this little town had ever seen. Groovin' in the Grove was a fundraiser for the park, so they could purchase playground equipment, picnic tables, and a shade shelter, as well as provide ongoing maintenance. People from surrounding towns showed up, at least 500, tripling the size of our town's population. And sometime that day, June 15th, 1999, Emma went missing. The police figured some creep slipped through the crowd, and with all the noise and excitement, they were able to kidnap a child in plain sight. No one noticed. It wasn't the first time it's happened, and it certainly wasn't the last. But it was the first time it had happened here, and it left a stain on the community that could never be removed. The Grove was a place where children could ride their bikes past dark, play ghost in the graveyard in the woods, hike the nature trail, swim the crayfish and leech-infested creek, and even trespass on farmland without the worry of farmers shooting at them. Parents expected their children to return home in one piece, because children didn't go missing in a place like Allen's Grove, until one did. I remember everything changed after that day, not only for the town, but for our family. I'd always believed Emma's disappearance hit too close to home, just across the street, or that my mother blamed herself for planning the whole event. I never in a million years would have thought my parents had anything to do with it. After all, they searched for her, alongside Nicole, Michael, and me. Shoulder to shoulder, we all walked the nature trail, the fields, and the wood. We hung missing person posters and made phone calls. We did everything we could. I remember their reassurances. Don't worry, we'll find her. The very thought of what they'd said sends a shiver down my spine. Mom even donated part of the fundraising money from the event to Emma's family. The park got its swing set, monkey bars, slide, shade shelter, picnic tables, basketball court, and several flower beds. But the Harper family never got Emma back, and they never found out what happened to her. There they are again, those words, right at the forefront of my mind. Your father. He didn't disappear. Don't trust. Disappear. That sticks out even more now. Maybe my mom wasn't offering hope that our father would return. Maybe it was a warning. Did Dad do something to Emma? Had he lied to Mom about it being an accident? Is that why she left me with those cryptic final words? My eyes flick to Nicole. She's frozen, hand on the remote, shoulders tense, eyes wide. I saw her like this once, the first time she overdosed. But she's not dying, I remind myself. Still, this is life-altering. How she sees the world is perishing. Michael is frozen too. Nothing on him moves, not even a blink or a twitch of an eyebrow. But there's a sheen to his eyes, like he's holding his emotions in, trying to keep them caged.
That can't be real. It must be some prank Mom and Dad were playing,
Nicole says.
Right?
Her eyes are still wide, but now they're staring right at me.
Did either of you know about this?
Michael asks. He studies our faces, like he's waiting for one of us to reveal a tell. I shake my head, unable to utter a single word.
You think it's real?
Nicole asks.
Of course it's real. That's Emma Harper on that tape, and that's the day she disappeared.
Michael gestures to the TV. Even though it's a blank screen, I can still see the image of her lying in the mud, covered in blood. Her lifeless eyes staring into the lens of the camera, while insects crawl over her porcelain skin. How could Mom take this secret to her grave? How could she bring Emma's family casseroles, invite them over for dinners, go on daily walks with Susan to search for her daughter, all the while knowing she was dead? Nicole stands abruptly.
I don't believe it,
she says, pacing the living room. Her footsteps are as heavy as the past.
You saw it with your own eyes,
I finally say, trying to convince myself more so than her. Michael shakes his head and gets up from his seat, disappearing into the kitchen.
Mom would never.
Nicole's voice cracks, and her bottom lip trembles.
And Dad.
She doesn't finish that sentence, but I know what she was going to say. Dad would never hurt anyone. But he did. He hurt all of us when he picked up and left. Michael returns a moment later with 3 plastic cups stacked on top of one another, and the bottle of scotch. He pours more for me and him, and less for Nicole, and then passes them out. We each take a gulp before speaking.
Do you think that's why Dad left?
Nicole's question isn't directed at either of us.
Maybe he couldn't deal with the guilt anymore,
Michael says. I furrow my brow. But this happened back in 1999, and he left in 2015. That doesn't make any sense. Michael's eyes meet mine.
Guilt can eat you slowly or swallow you whole.
He's right about that. Nicole swigs more than a mouthful of scotch. Some of the liquid slithers out of her lips and dribbles down her chin. She doesn't wipe it away. Either she doesn't notice or doesn't care.
In the video, Dad said it was an accident,
she says, pointing at the television. I lean forward in my chair, clutching the cup with both hands. If it were an accident, why wouldn't he just call the police?
Maybe he thought he'd be held liable because it happened on his property, and he and Mom would lose everything,
Michael offers.
Or maybe it wasn't an accident and he just told Mom it was.
As soon as the words leave my mouth, I want to suck them back in. I had the thought, but saying it out loud feels wrong. Just because Dad walked out on us doesn't make him a murderer. But perhaps I didn't know him after all. A montage of memories plays out in front of my eyes, a private viewing just for myself. Dad teaching me how to ride a bike. Dad sitting in the bleachers at my track meets. His face painted with my high school colors, blue and yellow, like he was cheering on his Green Bay Packers rather than me run round and round the track. Dad helping me reel in a bass from the creek. Dad crying with me when I blew my knee out senior year due to overtraining and malnourishment. Dad telling me just because my future wasn't going to include a full-ride scholarship anymore, that didn't mean it wasn't going to be bright. Dad walking me down the aisle. Dad holding his granddaughter. And then, Dad, standing over the body of Emma Harper. I shake the memories away and focus on my surroundings, trying to ground myself in the present rather than be overtaken by the past. My parents' belongings are scattered all over the floor. I wonder if any of them hold clues about what really happened the night of June 15th, 1999. And then there are my siblings, who are more like strangers to me than family. Michael sits on the couch, massaging his forehead. Nicole fidgets with her fingers and continues to pace. She stops suddenly and snaps her head in my direction.
Where's Emma's body now?
I hadn't thought of that. What could they have possibly done with it? We all look at one another, eyes darting back and forth.
Wherever it is, it must be long gone, since no one ever found her, Michael says. Maybe they buried it, or weighted it and sent it down the creek. Or maybe they cut it up and threw her away one piece at a time.
What the fuck is wrong with you, Michael? I practically spit. He throws a hand up defensively.
What? Nicole's the one that asked the question.
Yeah, but you're so crass. Do you really think Mom and Dad would dismember a child's body? I narrow my eyes.
I don't know, Beth. Clearly they did something with it, he huffs.
We all exhale like we're releasing everything we thought we knew.
What do we do now?
Nicole asks. I don't answer because I really don't know. On one hand, I think the Harper family deserves to know what happened to Emma. But on the other, will it do them any good? Lucas moved away after high school, and his father died in a hunting accident shortly thereafter. Emma's mother, Susan, still lives in the house across the street. Her health has been declining for years. I guess it's hard to stay healthy when you have a broken heart. Mom was close with Susan, and I think knowing what Mom kept from her all these years would kill her. So maybe the truth would do more harm than good at this point. A knock at the front door startles us, 3 knocks to be exact. They're quick and loud, the urgency reverberating through the door. My shoulders practically collide with my ears. Nicole freezes in place, staring wildly at the kitchen. Michael swallows hard, his Adam's apple rocking up and down, like a snake that's consumed too large of prey. Mom and Dad may have buried a body, but they didn't bury the past. And now, it's clearly caught up with us. 13. Beth. My hand moves to the door handle almost in slow motion, my frame of reference shaky, like an old horror film being shot in first person. If it were a movie, surely the ghost of Emma Harper would be on the other side of the door, or someone who knows the terrible secret my father ran off with and my mother took to her grave.
Who is it?
Nicole whispers from the other room. I shush her and focus on the door, my hand hovering less than an inch away from the knob, cupped, ready to grab, twist, and swing it open. I can see the outline of a person through the 4 square, opaque windows. Our visitor is tall, at least 6'2", with broad shoulders, shifting side to side, seemingly nervous. If they can see me, I'm sure I appear the same way to them. Nervous. I don't think when I switch on the porch light and swing open the door. Shutting off the brain is sometimes the only way to get past fear. Moths and tiny insects swarm to the golden light that hangs from the ceiling above his head. My stomach drops, then flutters up toward my lungs. My heart races faster than I used to be able to run. And my skin perspires despite the cool night air seeping through the thousands of cut-out aluminum squares on the screen that separates me from him. It's been years. More than years. And he hasn't changed. But I think when you fall in love with a person and never fall out of love, they always look the same as how you first saw them. There's that sharp jawline I always joked could cut through diamond, and those blue eyes that I imagined the ocean looked like up close. He delivers a faint smile, and I think I return one back. But I'm not sure how my face looks to him.
Hey, Beth,
he says. Hi, Lucas. My words come out breathy. I clear my throat and shift my stance, unsure of what to say or how to act. He extends his hand, and in it is a loaf of homemade banana bread, packaged in saran wrap.
He
stammers. We were once closer than two humans could possibly be, and now we're practically strangers, but there's a familiarity that strings us together, making this encounter all the more complicated.
I heard about your mom. I'm so sorry.
The corners of his eyes crinkle, and he drops his chin. The mention of Mom first makes my heart ache, and then is a punch to the gut as I'm shot back to reality, remembering what I just saw on the TV screen. My breathing changes. It's fast and short and uneven, like my mom's final breaths. My eyes fill with tears. I try to breathe through it, blink it away, but I don't think I'll be able to this time. I want to tell him what I just found out about his sister. I want to show him the tape, but I know it'll be like picking a scab, uncovering something that was already in the process of healing. And the video doesn't provide anything substantial. It doesn't tell us where her body is. It just reveals that my father had something to do with her death, whether it was an accident or not, and that my parents knew what happened to Emma Harper. Rather than reporting it, they covered it up. I need to know more before I can tell Lucas, if I ever can. Finally, I nod several times and retrieve the loaf of bread from him.
It's my mom's recipe.
He shoves his hands into the front pockets of his jeans. It's like he doesn't know what to do with them.
I made it, so if it doesn't taste good, that's on me,
Lucas adds, rocking back on his heels. He cracks a half smile, but it quickly fades, and I assume that's because of me. I'm sure I have the look of a person being interrogated for a crime they did commit. Thanks, is all I manage to say. When I realize I'm squeezing the soft bread, I loosen my grip, causing it to fall to the ground. I quickly bend down to pick it up. The loaf is dented and crushed where I clutched it too tightly. That's how he and I are, a misshapen thing that was once made with love and molded to perfection. Even the most perfect things crumble under pressure. Sorry, I mutter.
Probably for the best. I may have accidentally used salt when the recipe called for sugar,
he jokes, shoving his hands deeper into his pockets. A laugh escapes me, and it feels foreign and wrong. I don't deserve the relief. How's your mom doing? I ask. He blows out his cheeks and glances to the right briefly.
Some days are better than others. That's why I'm back, to take care of her. Hearing of Laura's passing really broke her today.
He shuffles his feet. I didn't realize he was back in town. Last I heard, he was married and living in Wausau, a city a few hours north of the Grove. I'm not surprised he and Susan heard about my mom's passing. News travels fast around here, and bad news travels even faster. Everyone knew she wasn't doing well and that her days were numbered. Some nosy neighbor must have seen the funeral home come collect her body.
How are you holding up?
He adds when I don't say anything. I'm okay. I'm not, but that's just what you say. He delivers a sympathetic look because he knows I'm not okay. He won't pry any further. Even though we haven't spoken in a very long time, at the core we still know each other. But my core isn't the same. It's rotten now, thanks to the sins of my parents. As I look at him, all I can see is his little sister lying dead down by the creek. I avert my gaze, first at my feet and then back at him. No, above his head. I can't look him in the eyes. He'll see right through me.
Well, I just wanted to stop by and see how you're doing, so I'll leave you to it,
Lucas says, rocking back on his heels again. He starts to turn, and it's then that I feel this strong pull, like we're two magnets drawn to one another. They say you should live life with no regrets, but I've lived a lifetime of them, and my biggest one is standing right in front of me. Do you want to go for a walk with me tomorrow morning? I ask, before I can even think about what that'll entail. Lucas stops and looks back at me. He and I used to go for morning runs, but after I blew my knee out, it was never the same. So many parts of ourselves stay raw like that, never fully healing. The corner of his lip lifts.
Yeah. How about I stop over at 7?
I nod, but don't smile. I can't force my lips up. That sounds good to me.
It's a date, then.
His cheeks flush.
I mean a walk,
he says with a nod.
Good night, Beth.
He jogs down the porch steps, tossing another glance at me. I watch him walk down the sidewalk and up our long driveway, waiting to close the door until he's more than halfway up it. I exhale, hoping the guilt will expire too. But it doesn't. It's still there, sitting in the pit of my stomach like a tumor, festering and growing. I can barely live with myself, and I've only known for an hour. How did Mom live more than 20 years with that terrible secret?